So let's see if we can get this correct. Okay, so these are 10 challenging questions of the ethical gray zone. Question number one. A client shares they are experiencing depressive thoughts and don't feel safe at home. You feel concerned. What's your best next action? A. Offer to extend the session and talk them through their thoughts. B. Continue exploring with coaching questions for holding the space. C. Pause and explore options for professional support or reporting in line with the agreement. Or D. Document the session privately and monitor their status in future sessions. Okay. The correct answer is, let's see. T Young has the correct answer. Driving must always be safe first. Yeah. So that's the most important answer. The answer is, let's scroll down. So all you say C. Answer is C. Okay. Yeah. So answer is C. Pause, explore options for professional support or reporting in line with the agreement. Okay, so there's something to think about. Where is this from? This is from the ICF Code of Ethics Standard 2.3. Do you remember what Standard 2.3 is? From our last session. If you forget, stay tuned for the YouTube video that's going to be launched this week. Okay, that will cover this point of 2.3. Okay, yeah. So standard 2.3 is what we covered the last session. If you remember, 2.3. If you go to the standard, and I will scroll back again later. Okay. Now, next question. Okay. During a coaching session, your client offers you a referral bonus for recommending to others. You're unsure. What should you do first? A. Accept the offer, but note it's a personal arrangement. B. Disclose the referral offer to the client and clarify compensation boundaries. C. Decline outright to avoid future conflict. Or D. Accept only after discussing it in supervision. A, B, C, or D. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of C and B. C and B. Okay, so Shirley says B and Chris says C. So most of you say C and B. Okay. So B and C are very close. They are actually correct answers. Which one is more aligned to the best answer? So in the answering the question, the choices will be the best answer for this moment. Okay, so both are correct answers, but which one is the better answer? The correct answer is B. Okay, so we don't have to decline outright. Okay, but we need to first clarify or disclose this referral bonus to ensure that there's no conflict of interest. So this one, okay, this maybe right here, this is a issue on conflict of interest. Okay. So you will see some answers that is just outrightly saying no, outrightly saying. So we have to be mindful that it's not a outrightly no, but we have to go back to that conflict of interest or the boundary of the agreements. So you choose an option that goes back to that boundary of agreements or the particular boundary that we discussed earlier in the coaching agreement. So B will be a closer option, which is disclosing to avoid any conflict of interest and clarify the compensation boundaries. Okay, then C, of course, is the next better choice. Okay, good. Okay, so
Sorry, can I ask something?
Yes.
So
Yes.
based on this answer, it means that during coaching sessions, if as this statement says that your client actually is asking you to recommend them to others, and at the same time, if you do that, they give you a referral bonus. So
Yep.
if you do this during a coaching session, it is actually okay because disclose the referral offer to the client and clarify compensation boundaries means it's actually acceptable to actually do it, right?
It depends on the context. So what you should do first, right? So you notice what you should do first, which is first disclose that
First.
offer.
Okay.
And then based on your own ethical boundary as well, because you have the code of ethics that's bounding you, but you also have your own personal boundary as well. For some coaches, even though it's permissible by the ICF code of ethics, but for me, I'd rather not do it.
Yep.
Then I may also decline. So I may first disclose and then I decline.
Okay, so when they say disclose the referral order to the client, I don't quite understand what does that mean. What do you mean by disclose the referral offer?
that means you announce the offer to the
to the client.
to the client. Yeah, see what is the potential impact of this disclosure? What is the referral bonus that I'm getting, the kickback and stuff like this. There are situations in even in Singapore as well where the coach is telling the coachee, you refer to someone, I give you the next session free, right? And then
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
so this kind
that
of things,
one is a no-no, right? That one is a no-no, right?
that one is okay if you upfront tell the client. You say, hey,
Oh,
my the way I'll do is that I'll there is a referral a bonus, or there's a complimentary session that is given to your friends if you refer them to this. But I let you know upfront that I'll be doing this. This is part of my coaching package. Now, for some coaches, they don't feel comfortable with that because they rather not do it,
yeah.
and that's this part here. So that's why what should you do first? So the first thing I'll do is to be clear about this boundary. Okay, so for me, there's this referral thing that's happening, and I want to let you know that you don't have to accept that, or for me, I'm not going to accept that. So you let the client know clearly that this is my arrangement with you.
So based on what you just said, right, in the coaching ethics code of conduct, both coach and client referrals are actually acceptable within.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, within the boundaries that then and then anything beyond that, it's really how you make the judgment call, whether is it something that's going to be supportive in terms of our relationship in the long run. Because if what I'm doing, it's just going to create more and more conflict, then something to think about. So let me
Okay,
pull,
understand.
pull up let me pull up this one, so that all of us can also make a reference. And this will help you see better. So I was referring to this part of 3.8. Can you guys see this now? Okay, so 3.8. Okay, you guys can see, right? Okay, so 3.8 says this: disclose to clients or client the information of compensation and benefits that have been paid, received, or will be paid or received for referrals. So it's okay to receive that. It's okay to be paid for whatever services, marketing fees. But how you do it is important. So for example, if let's say I just, Chris refer me, I'll get a it's Chris, so you refer me, right? Then you refer to another person, then you will get a kickback of 1%, I get a 1%. Then you refer to Desmond get another 1%. Then become MLM, right? So if it become a multi-level, is it legal? Is it possible? Is it doable? Although ICF doesn't say it very explicitly, but you have to go back to your guardian principle. I'd rather not have too many layers, right? So the moment it goes into the multi-layer network marketing thing, I'd rather not do it. I'll just avoid it create more confusion. Desmond, you had a question.
Yeah, I'm going to the question. Maybe I'm just trying to understand the context of the question a little bit better.
Okay.
Because it says that it is the client who is making an offer, right? In the first line. The way I read it is that if I refer the client, the way I interpret it is the client offers me a bonus for recommending them, i.e. the client. It sounds like a business recommendation or something like that. And then it says, whereas the answer B is disclose the referral offer to the client. It sounds a bit of a mismatch. It doesn't quite follow. Because you're talking to the client. My thoughts are that I understand the concept of
Let me enhance it better.
transparency. Transparency. Yeah.
Yeah, let me enhance enhance the question. So to the potential client, not yet your client, but potential client.
Okay. Yeah. So this is when you're coaching a third person.
No, but Jay, this is not during the session itself. How do you go and talk to your potential client during the session itself?
Well, because sometimes in the session itself, you will have you meet a team session, or you will meet a client who's just with another client there as well, or immediately after this, on the session itself, you may be in a large group, 10, 20, 15 people, or 2, 3 people as well. Or the client can text you as well, say, I got this person, where can you do it? So it could happen in the session as well. So it's not bounded within whether it's just
But the question say during a coaching session,
yeah.
Right?
So it could happen in the session. It could also happen outside of the session, right?
Yeah,
So,
which is my point. The answer, if it happens during a coaching session, this thing about disclosing the referral offer to a potential client sounds a bit weird. That means
No,
you're
but
saying in a group session, it could be within the group, is it?
yes, it could happen within that. It can also happen within, and that's why there's two parts here. One is the disclosure. The other one is the clarification of the boundaries. And the other key point is the idea of the first. You will see questions that look like this. A lot of questions like this in your MCQ that don't follow a certain rational logic. And I purposely make some of this question like that because you will find that a lot of the questions that you will see in your question set will be very strange. Like, why is it written like that? Because the question bank is written by many different assessors across the world. And so the way that they phrase will be very, very different. So you will encounter questions like this, but I also go back to the first principles. First principles is I don't care whether the structure is like this. I look at what is it asking me, which is okay, the first thing I need to do. And what is my immediate recollection of the code of ethics? The code of ethics talk about the disclosure of the benefits and stuff. So I'll choose that one as the first one. And then this part here, although it's also a good choice, but this is within my boundary already. Okay, so you meet more,
Thanks.
yeah, you meet a lot of questions like this. Irene will tell you, right, Irene?
Yes, it's a lot. I read until blur. I reread also cannot understand. But it looks so simple.
Okay, so for the guiding principle for all of us here is that when you go for the exam, the exam questions will look like that one, which is but purposely craft it to look like that. Okay, here come like that. Why is it like that? So I know we will analyze a lot. I'll say don't worry too much. Go back to the code of ethics and see what the ethics say. Use it as the first guiding principle. And if they use the words like first or what's the most important thing to do, I use that as the principle and go back to the question set. So good. Is it Guru? Guru had a question. Guru, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. I had one. Just outside the exam in real life, if you have been got appointed by an organization to coach people in the company, and just on the back of this question, if the client asks you what are the financial arrangements, are you bound to discuss those things?
If you're in the company, is it?
No, if you're external to the company and the client poses such a question as to what are the financial arrangements you have with the client's organization, are you bound to disclose these things?
It depends on your coaching agreement with the organization, because you would have signed an NDA or a contract with the organization itself, whether it's with the HR directors or whoever.
Of course.
Yeah.
Then you
So
can
you
hide
based on that.
behind that NDA. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Understand.
I will not use the word hide behind the NDA. I would say
I would think so. It's good to have that NDA.
yeah. For clarification, I would advise you to please speak to the HR to understand the financial arrangements. Yeah. Just speak to the
So
HR.
you're not bound to talk about these things. Okay.
Yes, correct. So in organizations, I will not talk about these things because it rarely situations that the internal client would ask me about these things.
There are clients who become quite inquisitive.
Yes. So your boundary is that I would say, hey, sorry, this will be more of a PNC or more of a private confidential arrangement between me and the organization. As such, if you like to find out more, I would recommend you to speak to the management. Okay. Good. Shirley, you had a question.
Yeah. If the coach is engaged by the organization to do the service for the employees, and then the employees like it so much that, surely I also want to engage you personally. I will pay from my own pocket. Is this appropriate?
Go back to what is the contractual agreement with the organization first. So, for example, most of the contracts will tell you that you're not supposed to be poaching the employee, or if there is a conflict of interest. So again, go by conflict of interest. If within the agreement itself, the organization says that for any of this private arrangement, you're perfectly okay to carry on, then it's fine. But if the agreement is that no, they are not supposed to continue with this unless having approval or written approval from the organization, then you may proceed. So we go back to the principle, which is the disclosure of any potential conflict of interest. If I know this is happening, I'll ask the person, I say, hey, has the management given a written approval for it? Would it be okay for me to also inform the management that this will be an arrangement that they would like to take offline? So
Mm.
if you cover all the grounds and the principal's conflict of interest is addressed, then it's fine.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yep. So let's ask this question. Which section is conflict of interest? 3.3. Okay, 3.3. Let me pull out that one. Okay, this one you must all be very familiar because it's a knowledge test. ACC is knowledge test. The failure rate is very high. Okay, 3.3. It resolve any conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest by working through the issue with relevant parties seeking professional assistance or suspending or ending the professional relationship. The statement is very, very big. So the gray scale, it's conflict of interest, and then here managing that and ensuring that the relationship does not get eroded from that. Right. So you notice this 3.2, 3.3, it's very, very kind of aligned together. Right. So one's managing, one's resolving many of those potential conflict of interest. Okay. So what I would say is for your section 3, where it talks entirely about conflict of interest, if you can highlight and memorize them or memorize the key phrases that's happening here, or review the videos that I'll be producing, because I will go through line by line every single thing with examples, right, which will be posted online as well. Okay, and not to worry, because this one will be covered in the session 3 and 4 in the next coming session.
Jada, is the ACC and the PCC exam, are they the same?
Different. ACC
Different.
is knowledge. ACC is knowledge based. PCC is scenario based. Yeah.
Okay.
And knowledge based, you cannot bring any notes inside as well. So, and for ACC, 60% of the tests, or 60 to 70% of the tests, all come from the code of ethics. So it's a huge chunk that will come from this part here, right? So that's why we're spending a lot of time to go through, because even you read there, you may think that you understand, but after we discuss the scenarios, then we realize now, okay, what is it that we really asking?
Yeah. So to add to Shirley's question, although it's not scenario based, the MCQ will come out in a scenario way for your interpretation of the clauses that just now Jedi show. So it sometimes will make us overthink lah.
Okay, so I'll try to create the question to let you overthink on purpose. So, and then I'll make this question sometimes look a bit strange because the actual question sets will be strange and sometimes making you very, very confused. The actual test, and it will cause you to overthink, second guess, and then you change your answer. That will be the question set. Because if they give you a straight, what is coaching ABC, it's too straightforward. So they're not going to give you so straightforward. They will put two answers very, very close, two correct answers, but which one is more aligned to the code of ethics? That will be the more correct answer. Okay, so great discussion here. So now let's try the third one. Now that you know it's not so direct, let's see whether you can guess this one. Okay, so question 3. You are coaching an employee at your company. Their manager asks for a quick summary of the coaching conversation. What is the most ethical next step? A, share a general thematic summary to satisfy the manager. B, revisit the confidentiality agreement with both client and sponsor before sharing anything. C, politely decline and refer to ICF confidentiality standards. D, provide the summary since it's within the organization. A, B, C, or D? So B. Okay. It looks like most of us say B. So let's see whether B is the answer. Yes, B is the answer. Right. So because we know the keyword. So confidentiality agreement. All right. So revisit the confidentiality agreement with the organization and you before sharing anything. Yeah. So even though you can politely decline, which is an okay thing to do, but what would be the best in accordance with that? So it's going to be aligned to the ICF standards. Okay, let's go with question 4. A long-term client begins contacting you outside of sessions for advice on non-coaching related matters. What should you do? A, set firmer scheduling boundaries without explanation. B, Give brief responses, but save deeper topics for the sessions. Or C, explore and reset the coaching agreement with the client, clarifying boundaries. Or D, tell them you can only respond if they pay for an extra session. Okay, so this looks a bit close. When in doubt, always go to answer C. Okay, so C is the answer. Okay, explore and reset the agreement with the client. Okay, clarifying the boundaries. So notice the some of the keywords you see this repeating. ICF would tend to use words like explore, giving space, inquiring, and whenever you see words like tell them, then probably it's not the best option. Yeah. Question 5. You are coaching someone from a culture that prioritizes hierarchy and deference. They often agree with your suggestions. What's your best ethical response? A, minimize challenge and align with cultural expectations. B, explore the relational dynamic and invite awareness of partnership. C, encourage the client to defer less and become more independent. Or D, continue the coaching while avoiding sensitive topics. Okay, so we have B and C. B and C. Okay, so when you do not know the answer should be B. Is it B? C. Answer is B. Explore the relational dynamic and invite awareness. So notice the keyword again: explore and invite. Okay, so B will be the better answer. Huh? Okay. Now, question 6. Your client confesses they lied on their job application and asks if that's something you should report. What should you do? Okay, A, report the issue to the employee because it's unethical. B, explore the client's reasoning and clarify that reporting is not your role unless law requires it. Or C, ignore the comment and shift focus. Or D, end the engagement immediately to avoid legal risk. A, B, C, or D. Okay, so B and A. Okay, very interesting. Yeah, some A, some B. Okay, report the issue is unethical, and then B, explore the client's reasoning. So for those of you who choose B because of the word explore, is it? Answer is B. Okay, so A is also the correct answer, but B is also very very important. So why? Because the ICF code, there's a difference in the code of ethics and the legal boundaries. So the only time where I will kind of cross the thing, right, is I need to ask myself, is this something that crosses the legality framework within the organization policies or the law of the state of the law or the law of the land, right? If today it's that the client confesses they stole one piece of paper from the company, should you report one piece of paper versus the client confesses they stole four reams of paper, should you report? So we have what we call the standard of care, standard of professional limits, and right. If you take one piece of paper, one piece of pen, generally speaking, for organizations, that is okay. But if you start taking stacks of paper back home, then it has crossed the boundary of care. Yeah. Okay. Guru.
So here is the question: if the agreement with the employer in your coaching agreement is to flag anything that has to be unethical,
Mhm.
then how does this change?
Okay, so if you expect anything that's unethical, then you got to ask the company, give me the definition of unethical or give me the boundaries of the unethical. So you need to work with the company to ask the company's definition of what is unethical for the company. Most companies will have what we call a policy guidelines. And so they have the guidelines of what is unethical, what's permissible, what's not
So
permissible.
misrepresentation is usually used in the unethical term, right? So this comes under
Yes,
misrepresentation.
we do not know. We do not know
Okay.
exactly what they like on the job location. For example, if I'm a lady, okay, I confess to you, Guru, actually I like my job location because I use AI to make my face look a little bit beautiful, not so fat. I lied to you,
Like,
right? I did. Yeah, I lied to you. But is it something that is against the law? All right. So again, this is something to think about. Huh? Now, of course, if the client confessed to you, and you after exploring, you realize it's about lying about their degree, the whatever. Okay, then you know it's really crossing the line. But it's just using AI to touch up the face or something, something about something else. Then that's why the answer will be you first explore what exactly is the issue here. It's good. Question 7. You notice that did I see someone? Young. Young. Yes.
Yeah, hi, Jedi.
Hmm.
Can you hear me, right?
Yes, can.
Yeah, okay. Actually, in relation to just the question just now, right, I would like to actually understand what is the role of the coach, or the role of the coach in terms of the need to report something, um, truth that was discovered during the conversation about the client, be it egregious, unethical, or whatever. Are we actually bounded by our code of ethics, right, to report anything in the first place? Or actually, it is more important for us to advise the client to do their own reflection and then to do their own reporting. So, what is the general approach?
Okay, so if you use the ICF code of ethics,
Yeah.
let me just share that with everyone. So for those of you who want to refer to which section of the ethics is section number 2, okay, on confidentiality and legal compliance. As a rule of thumb for the ICF, it's that once the agreement is formed, and we know the different roles and functions of what is ethical, what's not ethical, based on the company's policies or the legal law of the land, then I would have already a boundary set in place. For those blur areas, usually what happens is the organization would also have you to share with the organizational leaders and discuss with them what is the best approach to take. So generally, here you notice the ICF language here. It's having clear agreement, right? And the issue here is to make sure that the areas for potential gray zones will be minimized as much as possible, and to ensure that anything that is within the boundaries is kept legal as well as compliant with the values or the policies of the organization. So at a very initial stage, when I get engaged in the coaching engagement of the organization, I need to clarify the organization what is that boundary, what is the limit, and then also ask the company if I encounter situations where it's gray zone, how should I approach this? So I need to discuss it with the organization. And most organizations would have a process of discussing what are some of the areas of that's a little bit more gray. Who should I approach? What should the discussion be about? And then navigate an outcome accordingly.
Okay, so there is actually no baseline so-called obligations on our part in order to do any reporting.
Yes. So in terms of reporting, that only here it says here, only when it's like illegal or imminent likely risk of danger to self per ICF guidelines, right? So if required by court, illegal, then that's the reporting happens. Beyond that, the gray zone, that's where ICF require you and the sponsor or the company to discuss what is that degree of appropriateness of what will be considered a breach or not a breach.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So this is for the confidentiality part, or in terms of legal compliance. Yeah? So notice ICL doesn't give you a very all the different steps and everything, because they a lot of these things, it will be different from each company or each engagement. So we go back to your agreement with the company. That's why for 2.3, there's this idea of clear agreement. If it's not clear, you have to clarify with the organization itself to get clarity. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Okay, so question 7. You notice that you're emotionally affected after each session with a particular client and begin dreading sessions. What is the most ethical next step? A, refer the client out to protect your energy. B, seek supervision and evaluate whether your presence has been compromised. C, continue as normal while maintaining notes. Or D, ask the client for feedback to shift the dynamic. A, B, C, or D. Okay, so a lot of you say B. The answer is B. Okay, so B is the best way or the most ethical next step, which is to seek supervision and evaluate whether your presence with the client is being compromised. Okay, good. Next question, question 8. You post a social media quote from a client session. I see this a lot on LinkedIn, a lot on LinkedIn. So let's discuss whether it's an ethical breach with no names used because it was so powerful. Later, the client felt exposed or feel exposed. What is the ethical breach here? A, there's no ethical breach. There's no breach if the identity was anonymous. B, you failed to obtain explicit informed consent from the client. C, it's a minor issue. Apologize and delete the post. D, you're allowed to share insights for education as long as names aren't used. So this is something that's happening right now a lot in social media by many coaches, including MCG coaches as well. They quote something from the client, they share something, blah, blah, blah in the session. Even though the names are not explicit, but if I'm the client, I read that, I felt being exposed. What should I do next? Right? Or what is being exposed here? Okay, so let's see everyone's answer. B, 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 B. Okay. So B becomes the new C. The answer is B. Okay. So the breach is we did not get explicit informed consent from the client. Okay. So even if I don't use the names, I may rephrase some of the quotes. It's still a breach because the client can read it online. Right? The client can read it and then the client will feel that, hey, how come this coach exposing my story that I shared privately with them? So so one of the things, if you notice on LinkedIn, I don't really post a lot of the client sessions about what happened, unless the client explicitly gives me permission, right? So that's why if you watch my YouTube videos as well, at the start I'll say thank you, so and so, thank you, Irene, for allowing us to record the session, to acknowledge that the client has given permission for it, right? In case any issues of consent as well, right? So even if it's anonymized, we have to be very, very careful, because the context from the client, they can feel exposed. Yeah. Even pictures as well. So today I see a lot of coaches, they take pictures with their students, their coaches, and then post online, say, oh, we just completed this new batch of learning, very happy. But in the collectivistic culture, many people will say, okay, but actually they don't feel okay for their face to be shown. Right. So again, for marketing purposes and everything, we have to get explicit consent from them and then always maintain the boundary. Okay, 9. A client you coached last year asked you to be friends on social media. You feel uncomfortable. What is the most ethical course of action? A, accept but don't engage with them online. B, decline the request to maintain boundaries. C, consider the nature of the request and initiate a conversation to clarify relational boundaries. Or D, accept only after reviewing the coaching contract. Now it's okay. So most of us say C. So the answer is C. Right? So consider the nature of the request and initiate a conversation to clarify the relational boundaries. So notice the keywords here. Again, clarification of boundaries. Question 10. You are facilitating a group coaching session and one participant reviews confidential information about another member outside of the group. What's your best response? A, remind the group of the confidentiality agreement and move on. Or B, pause the session and address the breach in a respectful and confidential manner. Or C, confront the participant privately after the session. Or D, allow the group to discuss it organically and debrief later. Okay. And this can use some logic. Okay, so B is the answer. Yes. So pause the session, address. This is more important for a group session or team session when someone shares something very, very personal. Now, sometimes you may come across the question says that as you're facilitating a group coaching session, one person starts crying. What should you do as the coach? Right? Or while you're facilitating a group session, someone starts yelling, what should you do as a coach? Right? And what's your best response then? Okay. So the likely response is around the same thing, which is, you can do a little pause for the session, address the person individually, separately, in a respectful manner, and then allow the rest, to continue from where they left off. Right. So usually for group or team coaching, that's why you find that there's sometimes having one or two coaches. And why we have two coaches for a group of maybe 10, 15 individuals, it's because sometimes there may be cases of conflict with individuals. So while one coach takes the conflict hair out of the team, the other coach continues with the rest of the coaching. Okay, so that's the design. So for those of you interested in joining us for team coaching, let me know. Me and Anne are organizing the team coaching training itself in the coming sessions as well. Okay, Desmond.
Yeah. So in response to answer B, what would be an example of how you would address the breach in a respectful and confidential manner? As in, what are words or actions that you would use
to be respectful to them?
Yes.
Okay, so for example, let's use the confidential information as the one participant reviews their, say for example, their birthday, okay, their date of birth, okay, or something very sensitive. So I would just pause the session. I'll say, hey everyone, I noticed that there's one of our participants here today have shared something that's very personal or very private, and could we just take a moment just to pause for a while? And I just want to acknowledge that whatever that was shared by that participant, it's something that's confidential for themselves. And I want to just remind everybody to just keep that information privately with you, right? So within this space, and not to share it outside these four walls. Separately, for you, individual participant, after our session is concluded, would it be okay for us to continue our individual session as well? Right. So I remind the team, and then I allow the individual to have an option to have a one-on-one session with me after the session, just to close and just to wrap up. If I'm the only coach in the group session, if there are two of us, then one of us stay with the team, the other one bring the person out to kind of have a closure of whatever happened in the session.
Right. And by reading the question, my interpretation is that what was shared, well, the other person about the other person, person B was not at the session. That's the way I read it. Would it be different if what A says about B and A and B are in that session?
So that's where the two coaches are important, right, for a team session. So when I know I'm coaching a team who is dysfunctional team, then I would invite two coaches to go into the session itself, because one will be addressing the team itself, and the other one will be taking this pair out to address it separately. Now, if in a situation I only have one person, then what I'll do is that I'll give a task for the team to continue working on, whether is it a reflection or something for them to work on. And then I'll tell the team, I said, would you be okay for us to have 15 minutes for me to address these two individuals separately first, before me coming back. And in the meantime, in these 15 minutes, I want to invite all of you to be focusing on this part or be focusing on doing this task. And after 15 minutes, I'll invite everyone to come back together. Usually when this happens, it's what happened at the start was not done properly, which is the coaching agreement, the team coaching agreement at the start. So for example, right at the start, I would inform everybody. I said, hey, in our session together, as we are discussing some topics, there may be tensions that may arise. There may be challenges of perspective. There may be issues that you may not see eye to eye with each other. And I can acknowledge that. And what I'll do, if I notice moments and spaces where the conflict is escalating, I will invite the parties in conflict to step out of the group session. Okay, and then I'll address you separately while the rest of the team will stay there. And I will then invite everybody to come back again. Okay, so this is what I will do if I notice something like this. So this is the framing I'll do right at the start of the team coaching engagement. So then when it happens, then that's what I'll do with them. So then I execute that. So separately address, then what we do is helping them to reconcile and consolidate it back. Now, the reason why I say you keep it to 5, 10, 15 minutes short is because if I'm going to spend 1 hour with them, the rest of the team is being neglected. So I may not have enough time. So I always let the team know, or the people being addressed know that I say, hey guys, this is really crossing the boundary. And I'm going to just talk to you guys for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and we need to continue to honor the rest of the team's time here. We'll find another time to address this issue that both of you are facing in a separate time. Will that be okay for us? Okay? Now, if the individuals that are in conflict don't feel comfortable to join back the team, then I'll invite them to release themselves. I mean, say they go and continue to do their own things, and I'll continue with the rest of the team. And then after the session, I will speak to these individuals again